Pete Buttigieg is the absolute worst. We're going to talk about this Frederick Douglass plan, which is apparently an opt-in or an opt-out civil rights plan. So let me just say, basically what happened was my understanding is that the campaign sent an email out to multiple African-American leaders, I believe in South Carolina. And essentially it said, like, pretty much if you don't get back to us with a no by the end of the day,
we'll assume you liked it.
We'll assume you like our civil rights plan, which is, I got to say, it's pretty ballsy for a campaign which is entirely embarrassing on its premise and has serious problems with African-American voters. And let me just make one important point here that I will keep repeating. It is not a question of here's somebody that nobody's ever heard of, and he has a compelling argument to make that might appeal to a broader set of voters, whether they be Hispanic or African-American or distributed across the country in any demographic or income level, right? It is the fact that this guy really bears repeating, is a 30-something mayor of a college town with no serious experience. And no, I'm sorry, I don't care that he was a Rhodes Scholar. Working at McKinsey is a strike against, and naval intelligence does not a presidential candidate make as a sole resume slot. His primary elected experience is being a mayor of a small town, of which he did have some large city experience by being involved in a viciously racist police department and aggressively promoting gentrification. So to the extent that he has one major area of an actual record, it's enormously destructive. And his people have the temerity to smear the African-American community as homophobic when we all know that every single poll has shown that those numbers have radically changed along with the rest of the country in the last several years. And marriage equality in Maryland, as an example, was bumped and supported by the African-American vote. How dare they? How dare they? And we're not, well, maybe we will play the dances in a second because it's just going to be more embarrassing.
It's just not only, I just want people to understand the full context of what this Intercept report, highlighted too.
And then we'll get to, then as soon as you do that, we'll get to Mayor Pete speaking to a Tea Party group in 2009.
Because not only was this like hostage endorsement situation where they're emailing people who like, you have 4 hours or else you would endorse me for president. Predominantly like the members of state government in South Carolina, social activists, black people in South Carolina who were got these emails in the first place were people who the campaign had reached out to, and they said, hey, we're talking about this plan, do you have any like comments on it? And that's how people ended up on this list. So a lot of people in good faith were like, well, actually, I think maybe we could work on this or that, and then they try to act like, oh, that's an endorsement. First of all, it's ridiculous. Number two is the way that this was phrased when they were pushing this to the media made it seem like there were 400 endorsements from black South Carolinians.
Right.
But that was not the case. Something about that they were able to estimate, and these are limited estimates too, because you weren't able to run all of the data in it. 42% of that list was white. So yeah. So it was
yeah,
like,
but they were woke white people.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, it's just so obnoxious from
exactly.
just like the way that you're treating people in the first place, trying to force them into endorsing you, but then also misrepresenting yourself on top of the nasty claims that have come out of his national campaign office.
African Americans for Trump.
I mean, yeah, literally,
this is the Democratic version of it. Him and his campaign are the worst. And here he is speaking to a Tea Party group back in the day.
Especially in my party, the Tea Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Republican Party. But there are many others who believe that the Tea Party is motivated by real concerns about the direction of our government and the responsiveness of our government to citizens, and above all, a frustration with business as usual. That is what motivated me to run. And so while we may come from often very different perspectives, I believe we might find...
I mean, if you trust this guy, you know, I'll just say real quick, and then can we do a little bit of the dancing coming out of Pete, because that should be disqualifying in and of itself. But Nando Vela was saying to me and Anna in LA, and I think he's 100% right, that of course Pete Buttigieg, if you're interested in foreign policy or inequality or any important issue, obviously he's terrible. Obviously he's a conduit for the billionaires. Obviously he's a conduit for oligarchs. But because of his age and because of how he's running, that is a generation-defining hegemonic candidate. And look, whatever the result, from the absolute worst to the absolute best, we continue our fight. But the ground that has been laid of finally starting to match some of our politics with the crisis of our material conditions, he is the Democrat who is a central threat to that. And he's also produced this.
All the frustration in business is that is what motivated me to run. And so while we may come from often very different perspectives, I believe we might find.
Oh my god.
There's another one, I think. I'm gonna text you this one, Matt.
You know, just
because I just can't take it.
You know, also, you know, we've definitely hit on this before, but people should also remember that Pete Buttigieg is somebody who has taken direct advice from Mark Zuckerberg on his campaign staff. So Mark Zuckerberg sent him an email with specific people who he thinks he should hire. And when you see him talking to this Tea Party group, you can see why somebody like Pete Buttigieg would be an exciting candidate for oligarchs like Mark Zuckerberg to support.
Oh my God, can you? Guys, can you? I texted it to your phones, but is there a way you can get this? All right, here's.
As it looks like, I don't know if that's a Pete Buttigieg fan.
It's the Cumtown guy,
former guest of the show.
A former guest of the show.
Which one do you want?
I just texted you guys. We got to play that too. It's just brutal. It's just so friggin' brutal. I think Adam's got it. I think he's got it. I think he's totally. I think Crystal and Sagar was saying that it's like very strong Christian youth group energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
It's like I remember learning the choreography for a song called "Our God Is an Awesome God." Yeah, you like learn the sign language, and that's dancing basically.
Oh,
let's see here. I'm trying to scroll back.
For all my disdain for atheism, it's good.
I mean, you wonder why people just go crazy.
Yeah,
on
fair
that
enough.
stuff.
Speaking of, we never even played Chris Matthews farting.
Oh my god.
Or was that Sawwell?
Oh, it's definitely Chris.
It was Chris, right? He's just like, what do you think about Russia?
It looks like this.
I'm trying to find. I don't know if I'll be able to.
We got to be able to find this. Was so bad, guys. So bad.
It's 11/18, if that helps. The date.
This is so embarrassing.
But I mean,
So embarrassing. So not good. All right. Check this out. These people are.
There's some, especially in my party, the Tea Party is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Republican Party. But there are many others who believe that the Tea Party is motivated by.
Are you? I thought you were doing that in the background.
So
as a joke.
I was confused. I think another Pete clip is playing in the background there, but yeah, there we go.
Oh my God.
it's good.
It's just so embarrassing.
It is so bad.
It's so friggin' embarrassing. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.